Hometown heroes. I get up very early to shoot these videos, and a lot of thought, a lot of years of ruminating, laying in bed, waking up in the middle of the night, thinking about something, or thinking about a gig in the past, or thinking about life, man. I've had a lot of time to think over the years, and think about how life worked out, and where I zigged where I should have zagged, and things I could have done better. And as you get older, there are a lot of regrets. But man, something really struck me this morning, and as I was laying there, and I was thinking about a young guitar player I knew when I was coming up, and I was probably, I don't know, 17 or 18, probably 18 or 19 at the time. And I was, growing up in Virginia, and there was this guitar player. I think he was like 13 at the time. And man, he was the most incredible guitar player I ever heard. He's still playing guitar. He obviously advanced, and is playing incredible guitar today. And I may reach out to him and may have him on the channel. But here's the thing, man. When I saw that guy at 13, at one point, you're thinking, man, I'm not that good, man. I'm not as good as that guy. He is incredible. He could play a solo, that would, frankly, it kind of blew away Eruption at the time. And it was harmonically advanced, and man, he was just incredible. He was just absolutely incredible. And he still is incredible. And this is not meant as any, disrespect to him at all. But, you have to wonder, you think, playing is the be all end all as far as making it in music. And I've talked about, man, there is no real making it, getting up each day and surviving life. That's ultimately making it. And anybody who's able to listen to this message today, man, you've made it. You're here. But man, I know that this guy is still, where he grew up, and you don't know, people's personal relationships or their family issues or any of those things. But, I couldn't help but think, man, I can't help but think, man, this guy should have been huge. He was better than, I remember going to GIT, and, I guess his name is Satchel's name. I can't even think. Is it Russ Parrish? I think that's what it is. It's been so long, but he was in my class at GIT, and he had just gotten in the Mike Varney column in Guitar Player, and he was like 16, and he's a great, incredible player, and I'm a huge fan of Steel Panther and all that. But man, this kid back home, he was better than that. And I don't know if he ever was in the Mike Varney column in Guitar Player. I don't know if he was ever featured in that. I know he had notoriety, where the area of Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, Newport News, all that. As the guy. He is the guy, and he's probably still the guy there. And man, if this guy would be exposed to a huge audience, man, he would he could be as good as any. And this is a guy that can play impossible stuff and doesn't have to hit speed up on the Logic Pro, and doesn't have to chop out all the spaces and do a bunch of trickery to play incredible, impossible stuff. This guy just can play incredible, impossible stuff. But man, there's so much more than just playing, and that is a huge, huge, deal. I mean, the reality is this, and I know I say that a lot on this channel, but man, you got to go where the action is. And, these days, now with the internet and stuff, you could get pulled out of your small town if somebody sees your video or something, and potentially opportunities would arise. But especially back in the day, man, you needed to be in Los Angeles, you needed to be in New York, and maybe a couple other places. I eventually moved to Nashville, and a lot of great players moved to Nashville, and that's where they got the opportunities. That's where they got the gigs. That's where people heard them, and they were available. It's rare that somebody gets pulled out of their hometown and blows up like that. Elvis was, somebody that, was living in poverty in in Memphis, and, rose out of that situation. But Memphis was a town that with a lot of musical opportunity and a lot of music. The reality, man, is this guy was incredible. And I know he was the hometown hero, and he had his bands in the area, and I'm sure they were one of the top, rock bands. I know a guy that played bass in my band in college. He played in this guy's band, and they had a metal band, and they were, doing all this stuff, and probably got to open some gigs with some, bigger name artists and all that. But man, you do those opening slots, there's very little chance that somebody's going to actually, go, hey man, you guys are great. I'm going to introduce you to my manager, or I'm going to bring you guys out to LA and record a demo. Sure, that kind of thing can happen. But man, most of the time, man, here's the thing, man. If you're an incredible player, a lot of times, man, people will acknowledge how great you are, but they're not going to go out of their way to help you. And, this guy, and I thought about it. It's like, man, this guy really should have gone to LA. He really should. He should have, even if he was 14 years old or 15 years old, he should have gone to LA. But man, that takes a lot. It can take some money, back then, you could get an apartment cheap, but getting out there, getting your gear out there, figuring out a way, and then even once you get out there, man, I remember being in my apartment in Hollywood and hearing through the walls this guy just playing incredible liquid lead guitars, stuff that licks that I've never heard since. I wish I knew who that guy was, and if he's even still alive. And he was just in that little apartment in Hollywood, just playing away, and I'd hear him start to practice, and I'd put my ear to the wall. I'm like, what is he doing? What is that guy doing? And he probably moved out of that apartment at some point and went somewhere, and nothing ever happened. You gotta like make that first step. You've gotta go somewhere, and you've got to get in people's ear. You've got to pick up the phone. You've got to place yourself there. And look, man, some people don't have the personality for that. I'm not a big fan of talking on the phone. I'm not a big fan of asking for favors or trying to get people to do things to help me. But I will, in moments of desperation, I will get motivated and pick up the phone and do it, man. If the push comes to shove and I need rent money or I need a gig or, or I'm hungry or whatever, that's when I get motivated. And I'll make those calls and I'll get in a band or I'll do something, but I've also been lucky that, once I was in an area like Nashville and I would play gigs with people that I already knew, people that I knew from back home that had moved to Nashville, the Wooten brothers and people like that. And they hooked me up with other people in Nashville. And I was lucky as far as my road gigs. They all came from people that I had known through those connections. So, I was in a place where I could get the gigs, and then I was available, and a position was needed, a guitar player was needed, and they said, we'll call him. He'd be great for this gig. So, to making that effort to get out of your hometown. If I'd have stayed in Williamsburg, Virginia, man, nothing would have happened. Nothing absolutely would have happened. It wouldn't have mattered if I'd practiced till I was blue in the face. Nothing was ever going to happen. I could have been the king of my hometown. I could have maybe created a little small rock scene, but there were no clubs. There was nothing in Williamsburg. I still, to this day, I have yet to play a gig in Williamsburg, Virginia, my hometown. I have not played a gig. I think when I was in high school, I played the library, had built a theater, and I played there once. But after I left and moved to LA, I never did. And I remember many decades, I came back from LA for Christmas break. And I went down to the local pub and, I had a piece of paper and I said, hey man, I just came back from LA. I'd like to book a band. And they were like, man, we don't have any openings right now. And I had a short window where I was going to be home. So, you know what? You've got to get out of your comfort zone, man. It's incredibly sad to me that somebody had that much talent. The world has no idea. And man, this goes for the same for, if you're putting out music now and expecting it to go viral, if you haven't built a following, if you haven't built a platform that you can promote it on, it's not going to happen. It's like, it's not going to get that push unless you put yourself out there. And so in a sense, it's the same way as, modern day social media. You still got to be out there. You still got to build something. Sure, you could get lucky and have one like viral thing that maybe catapult you. But man, you've got to work at it to get to that point. You've got to put out a bunch of videos that don't do anything or build gradually until you've built a following, and then the following can help something go viral. Just like, hey, this video could end up being a huge thing because we all know somebody back home who blows away everybody. I mean, I'm telling you something, man. If this kid at 13 years old had been out in LA and played one of those solos that he played at my house, we used to have jam sessions. Here's the scenario, and this is amazing. I had a jam session, and it would be Wednesday nights, and look, I was playing at Busch Gardens. The Wooten brothers were there. All these musicians were there. I had a room in my house. I had no adult supervision from midnight till 8 a.m. So the house was completely, nobody there. And we would have, I would have the Wooten brothers come over. We had a drum set. I had an amp. We had a bass amp. We had a PA. I mean, we full on jam, right? It'd be Victor Wooten and Joseph Wooten and Reggie Wooten and Roy Wooten and well-known bass player Keith Horn and James Genus that plays with Saturday Night Live band. I mean, these guys were jamming, and essentially it was my bedroom. I had this giant bedroom, and there was nobody there in the house from midnight to 8. And man, and so this kid would come, and he would come to the jam, and man, he would play a solo by himself. He couldn't. He at that time. He didn't know like the R&B tunes and stuff that we'd be, jamming on. He was a metal player. He was like straight metal. But he would, get up and play his solo and just play this solo that he had. And he was playing all kinds of stuff, man. Whole tone runs and all this stuff. And man, it was like, where did he even get this stuff? Now, I'd heard that his brother and I think his dad had played guitar. And so he had kind of grown up hearing guitar and learning from them. Man, that is a great way, in the days prior to YouTube, that is a great way to learn. If you have it in your family, if it's in your blood. And man, if that kid had played that solo at the Roxy or anywhere, he was better than any of those guys on this trip, including me or anybody. Paul Gilbert, really, even. Paul Gilbert was maybe faster with his picking technique, but this guy was playing. Man, he was playing harmonically complex stuff. Man, I'm telling you, and he had all the harmonics, all the squeals, he was playing a Kramer with a Floyd Rose at the time, and it was just absolutely incredible. And imagine, I had all those amazing players in my house jamming on Wednesday nights. And James Genus, amazing bass player, plays on Saturday Night Live, played with Chick Corea, plays with Herbie Hancock. He's still touring with Herbie Hancock. I've seen him play with the Brecker Brothers. I've seen him play with Mike Stern. But he was always an amazing bass player. But he got out of his comfort zone of Norfolk, Virginia, and he moved to New York City. And I'm sure he had it tough. I'm sure he's had rough moments and all that. And man, he's had an amazing career. And then the Wooten brothers, those guys at one point went up to New York and recorded an album on, Arista Records and all that. I've talked about on this channel. I've had an interview with Joe Wooten, and that's back when I first met those guys. But those guys, man, they went to New York, and then, when that didn't work out the way they wanted, they moved to Nashville, and Victor hooked up with Bela Fleck, and, the rest is history. But they had to get out of their comfort zone. They had to get away from home. Man, a lot of times things can keep you at home. Your relationship, maybe you got a girlfriend, maybe your family needs you, maybe there's a family business. In my family, there was a family business. It was a restaurant my mom was running, and there was a time where I thought, man, that's probably what I'll do. And I even thought about at one time quitting music and going back home and doing that. And it was Joseph Wooten. He said to me, he says, yeah, you could do that, but that's not you, man. That's not you. So these are valuable lessons, man. If you're a guy in a small town and you're not promoting yourself, with social media, and you're not good at that, man, it's going to be really hard to make it. So no one's going to just come by and go, you're incredible, and pull you out of there. Sure, that can happen. But man, you've really got to go somewhere where you can make things happen, where you can meet people, and where you can get opportunities, and where you're available. No one's going to call somebody from Nashville and go, oh, I'm going to get this guitar player in New Jersey, or I'm going to go get this guitar player out of Wisconsin, they're going to get a guy that's there because that's where the bus leaves from. That's where the rehearsals are. That's where, they want you close by. So, hometown heroes, man. There are, I'm sure, amazing players out there. Let me know in the comments if you know a guy that was just incredible, but maybe didn't get the recognition that they deserved, and maybe tell me why. Because it's one of those things, man. I wake up in the middle of the night and it makes me wonder, man. It makes me think, and maybe I'll get this guy on the channel because he deserves some recognition, and man, that would be a great thing. But hometown heroes, man, hometown heroes. I know we all have one.